My name is Cynthia, 33, and I'm fortunate enough to own my own home. In today's economy, I know that's a big deal, and I'm proud of it, but my husband, William, doesn't see things the same way. He's pretty cynical and holds tight to the idea of being the man of the house. Even though I make more than him, his job doesn't pay much, and his mom is constantly criticizing him for it. She's always comparing him to others, talking down about his work, and it wears on him. I've tried to step in and defend him, but his pride keeps getting in the way. Things took a turn when he lied to his mother, claiming he owned the house, even though it's in my name. Instead of confronting him, his mother quickly shifted the conversation to how he should be looking for a better-paying job. It's tough to watch how much her comments about his choices and education affect him, even though I keep telling him we're fine. His mom, though, just can't accept that he depends on me as the main earner. She thinks it's humiliating for a man. Letting William take credit for the house seemed like a small win at the time. I thought it might help him feel better about himself and maybe even gain some approval from his mom, but I realize now that it was a mistake. Ever since, he's become more disrespectful and controlling, almost like he thinks he has a right to boss me around just to boost his ego. When his mom's around, it gets even worse. He's constantly trying to prove he's in charge. The reality, though, is that without me, he wouldn't even have a home to live in. But out of kindness, I went along with his behavior, not wanting to make things harder for him in front of his mom. Then, one day, everything escalated. "Cynthia, get down here right now, my mom's here, and she wants something to eat and a foot massage," William barked from downstairs. I rushed down, only to find William and his mother deep in conversation. "Don't just stand there, clueless, do what I said," William snapped. "Look at you, finally showing some backbone." His mom smirked. "It's a wonder Cynthia puts up with that tone, especially since she's the one paying the bills." "Maybe, but I'm the one who owns the house, so she owes me some respect," William boasted. I couldn't help but sigh inside, but I stayed quiet, thinking maybe his newfound confidence was helping rebuild his strained relationship with his mom. They used to be close, but things fell apart when William dropped out of college to chase an investment scheme some friends had talked him into. His mom had warned him, but he didn't listen. It turned out to be a scam, and he was left broke and disheartened, unable to finish school. Since then, he's been trying to mend things with his mom, but she's always focused on his brother, Brian, who has a stable career. Speaking of Brian, he's coming over for dinner. Let's make sure there's enough food. He must be exhausted from his long day at the company. Janet, William's mother, added with a pointed tone. Janet often gripes to me about William, never hiding her disappointment. It's been 7 long months of this, and I was reaching my breaking point when she started in again, complaining about William's choices. Trying to be polite, I gave neutral responses, but it was wearing me down. Soon, Brian arrived, and William greeted him with obvious bitterness. As we gathered in the kitchen, Janet kept talking about how William needed to step up, and it became clear she had something serious on her mind. "Oh, we're not just here for a casual visit," she said as we sat down to dinner. "Brian and I have been talking, and we have something important to discuss with both of you." I felt a sinking feeling in my stomach, unsure of what was coming. After setting the table and saying grace, Janet finally got to the point. "I want to address the situation with William. Brian and I have been thinking this over for a while." "William?" Janet prompted. "Yes, Mom," William replied, tense. "As you know, your current job isn't exactly enough to support you," Brian chimed in bluntly. "Let's not sugarcoat this, Brian. What he's really saying is that with the job you have, it's not realistic for you to keep this house," Janet said bluntly. William and I were both caught off guard. "You're in a tough spot," Brian added. "Owning a house is a huge responsibility, and we don't want to see you struggle with the mortgage or risk losing it. That's why we think it would be best if I took over the ownership and put the house in my name. It would help avoid any problems down the line." "What? No way," William responded, shocked. "Why not? We're just trying to look out for you," Janet insisted. "I'm not a kid, Mom. I can handle owning a house. I don't need you treating me like I can't manage my own life." "William, don't be so defensive. Why don't you just get the title deed, and we can talk this over properly?" Janet suggested. William and I exchanged a quick glance. Janet and Brian didn't know I was the owner of the house. If they found the deed, it would blow William's lie wide open, and he'd have to face the truth. I realized the moment of truth was here. There was no more avoiding it. You know, Janet, Brian, we appreciate your concern, but it's time we come clean about something, I said, hoping to finally bring the truth to light. Come clean? What are you talking about? Janet asked, her curiosity piqued. Well, actually, William began nervously, we don't exactly have the title deed on hand. I stared at him, disappointed. This was his chance to be honest, to come clean, and yet here he was, weaving another lie. I couldn't understand why he was making this worse. I think we must have misplaced it while organizing the attic. You know how cluttered it is up there. It's probably buried somewhere in all that stuff, William stammered. William, you're a homeowner. You should know where important documents like that are, Janet reprimanded. Typical. I have no idea how you managed to buy this house in the first place, Brian chimed in, clearly unimpressed. I'll find it, just give me a couple of days to sort things out, okay? William offered, trying to buy time. Well, that's inconvenient. We were hoping to get this process moving, but fine, let us know as soon as you locate it, Janet replied, her patience wearing thin. Absolutely, William said, eager to end the conversation. Throughout this whole exchange, I stayed quiet, watching William dig himself deeper into his lies. This was his opportunity to step up, to own his mistakes, but instead, he chose the easy route, adding yet another falsehood. It's true what they say about lies, the more you tell, the harder they are to escape. After dinner, once Janet and Brian left, I confronted William. His decision to make things worse was beyond frustrating. William, seriously, that wasn't necessary. You had the chance to come clean. You always have something to say, Cynthia, William snapped. I don't need a lecture, I'm not a child. Then stop acting like one. You need to take responsibility. Lying isn't going to fix anything, and it's definitely not going to earn you anyone's respect. Stop nagging me, Cynthia. You act like you run everything around here, like I'm nothing without you. Do you even realize that? I took a breath, stunned by his sudden hostility. William, we both know the house isn't in your name, it's in mine. Maybe we should just be honest about that. You think you're in charge because your name's on a piece of paper? Let me remind you, I live here too. I'm the one taking care of things. I'll decide what happens in this house, and that includes the title deed. I'll put my name on it eventually, and it'll be settled. I'll just tell Mom it's taking longer than expected. Now, can you get the title for me? I stood there in disbelief. In all our 7 years of marriage, William had never spoken to me like that. His frustration, his constant need for his mother's approval, it all came to a head, and he lashed out. But that didn't make his behavior excusable. He was treating me like a subordinate, as though I had no say in this. As for me, I have a talent for being methodical and precise, especially when it comes to evening the score. Some might call it petty, but I see it as fair play. Still, in that moment, I realized that revenge wouldn't solve anything. Engaging in a shouting match would only escalate things, leading to more regret. So, I took a deep breath and followed the instructions as requested. But as I complied, I thought about teaching this ungrateful person a lesson. I went to our home office and quickly found the deed in the filing cabinet, proof of my responsibility as the homeowner. Instead of giving him the original, I decided to make a photocopy. The black and white version lacked the official color stamps and detailed markings, but that was part of my plan. I slipped the copy into his work bag and quietly secured the real one in my secret safe, far from William's reach. Later, I casually mentioned, I went ahead and put the deed in your work bag for tomorrow. I know you've got an early start, so I took care of it for you. Great, I'll need to contact the title company to get the process started, he said, none the wiser. The next day, while I was working, William called. Hey, you accidentally put a photocopy of the deed in my bag. I need the original. Oh, really? My mistake, I replied, feigning innocence. The guy here thinks I'm clueless and won't help with the copy. Also, since your name is on the deed, it'd be better if you got involved. Some of us have real jobs that need our focus. You know, we need to have proper meetings for this. Wait, what? Do you want my help or not? I shot back, already amused at his frustration. I could sense his growing irritation, but it didn't faze me. I was done letting him walk all over me, and it was time he felt some of the heat. He needed me more than ever now, and I had no intention of making it easy. Fine, I'll handle everything, I said. All right, goodbye. Our relationship was rapidly unraveling, and I was done being passive. William's rude behavior no longer got a free pass. Over the next week, William was on a wild goose chase, trying to track down the title deed. He tore through the office and even rummaged around the attic. Though we both knew the document wasn't there, desperation makes people do irrational things. Another week went by, and still no luck. William had taken time off from work just to continue his search. I'll admit, watching him stress over something I knew was safely tucked away gave me a small thrill, but remembering the cruel things he'd said made it easier to brush off any guilt. Meanwhile, he'd been ignoring calls from his mother, Janet, and brother, Brian. I wasn't surprised. He knew he was running out of time. One evening, Janet finally called me. "Hi there, how are things going?" she asked. "I'm doing well, thanks. How about you two?" "We're good, but William hasn't been answering our calls. We've been trying to reach him about the title deed. Has he mentioned anything to you?" "I know he's been avoiding your calls." "Is everything okay?" "Honestly, not really. He still hasn't found the deed." "Oh, dear, he really needs to get more organized." "That's what I told him, but he's not listening. Even Cynthia is getting fed up, and she's the most patient person I know. Brian and I are planning to come over tomorrow to help him search. Tell him to take the day off. There's no need for him to rush." "Sure, I'll pass that along." But, of course, things didn't go as planned. Instead of resting, William woke up the next morning to find his mother and brother standing at his door, less than pleased. "Are you seriously sleeping while we're here to help you?" "Unbelievable," Janet said, her tone sharp. "Come on, man," Brian added. "We both took time off to help, and you're just lying in bed?" "What's going on?" William asked, clearly caught off guard. "We told Cynthia we were coming over to assist, but apparently, that message didn't get through to you," Janet replied, annoyed. "Don't put this on Cynthia," William snapped. "If you'd answered your phone, none of this would have happened." "Why weren't you answering?" Brian pressed. "I was asleep, but fine, let's get this started. I have the deed right here." At that moment, I stood in the doorway, everyone's attention shifting to me. I couldn't let Janet and Brian waste their time searching for something that wasn't lost. It was time for the truth, along with a little discomfort for William, as payback for all the hurtful things he'd said. "Why didn't you tell me about their visit? I've been exhausted from searching for the deed all this time. And what about the ownership document? Why wasn't that mentioned?" "The truth is, there's something important you all need to know." "Don't you dare interrupt me. William doesn't actually own this house." "I do." "What?" "Yes, my name is on the deed, not William's. He's been deceiving everyone, and I went along with it because I loved him. But lately, his behavior has become concerning, so I think it's time everyone knows the truth." "Is this true, William?" "No, Mom, she's lying." "Even when you're caught? That's pathetic." I handed the documents to Janet and Brian for confirmation. "This proves that I'm the owner of this house. William, you've been lying all this time." "I can't believe this. I'm at a loss for words." "William, I'm truly disappointed in you. You don't need to fool yourself any longer. You have to leave. You've insulted me by saying I'm worthless without you, but it's you who's been relying on me." "Did he really say that?" "Yes, on the day he suggested changing the name on the deed. He threw hurtful words at me." "I didn't mean it, Cynthia. Why are you doing this? You're my spouse." "Oh, I used to think I was ungrateful, like a spoiled child. That's exactly how spoiled children behave." "Mom, I could explain, but I think I've said enough. William, you've let me down time and time again, maintaining this facade just to impress me. It wouldn't be surprising if you weren't the true owner of this house, but pretending for nearly a year and mistreating Cynthia has left a terrible impression on me. I can barely stand to look at you." With that, Janet stood up and left, while a desperate William pleaded for her to stay, hoping they could sort things out, but she was done. "Brian, please, man, I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Just be quiet. I feel like hitting you for wasting Mom's time and Cynthia's energy. This woman has put up with your nonsense for far too long, and you've treated her poorly. That's unacceptable. Spare me the excuses. You need to take a break from reaching out to us, at least for a while. Mom is really upset and needs some time to herself." With that, Brian walked away, leaving just William and me alone in the house. It was my turn to speak. "You may call me an ungrateful spoiled child, but the truth is, You're the one lacking gratitude. Your behavior disappoints me, and it's hard to watch. I'm relieved that your mother and brother finally see your true colors. You may be an adult, but you're not the leader of this household. If you want to stay here, you need to show me respect and contribute your fair share. Otherwise, you can take on the role of head of the household somewhere else, wherever that may be. William's distress was evident. In one fell swoop, he'd damaged 4 important relationships. That has to be some kind of record. I can only hope he learns and not to mistake my kindness for weakness.